Morning.
Morning.
How is everybody?
Good blessing.
I thought our Easter play went real well last night. I do thank everybody that many weeks of practice and everything that was put in. I know some people, costumes and all different things, and thank God for allowing us to do that production. Thought we recorded it, we didn't get it, but that's the way the ball bounces sometimes, ain't it? All right, we're in Exodus chapter 30, a very exciting chapter, huh? Very, this actually is a pretty good chapter compared to some that we've studied and some that we will study. But let's get into it and enjoy what God says. Verse 1, Thou shalt make an altar to burn incense upon, of cedar wood shalt thou cover it. A cubit shall be the length thereof, and a cubit shall be the breadth thereof. 4 square shall be the 2 cubits, shall be the height thereof, and the horns thereof will be the same. Thou shalt overlay it with pure gold, the top thereof, and the sides thereof, round about, and the horns thereof, and thou shalt make unto it a crown of gold round about. And 2 rings shalt thou make to it under the crown of it, by the 2 corners thereof, and the 2 sides thereof thou shalt make it, and thou shalt put for a place for the staves for to bear it withal. Now, why this altar? Why the altar of incense? I understand the brazen altar where the blood is placed upon the altar, the sacrifice is placed upon her. But why an altar of incense? By the way, what is it? Why and what is it? Somebody tell me. Come on.
Jesus' altar of praise.
It's an altar of praise that if you have it, perfume. Incense is like perfume. And this is placed there as a sweet savor or well-pleasing unto God. Now, let's understand something about where this is placed. It's placed inside the inner court, right? The inner sanctuary, not the holy place, but as part of the furniture. There's 3 things that are inside of the inner tabernacle, and that is the golden lampstand, the altar of incense, and the table of shewbread. Okay? So this altar of incense is there, and he gives us the height and the dimensions of it, just like he does everything else. And remember, none of this has been built. Nobody what it looks like except Moses. Moses saw all this stuff when he's on top of the mountain. God gives him this, and Moses records this, that it might be built. The difference between what's in heaven, because he keeps telling him, build these things after the pattern that you see in heaven, is that these have rings on them because they are portable. Why would God build a portable church? Because the people were not where God wanted them. Right? And today, we're not where God intends us to be. Although we are in God's house this morning, we will sing God's songs, we will praise His name, we will preach His word. We're not where God intends for His children His children of Israel, His chosen people. You are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood according to the Scriptures. We are not where God intends us to be. So, as everything else is built out of this wood, there's another name for this wood. It's called acacia. If my memory serves me correct, I know it's acacia. I know it's close. I know I was close, but acacia, and they overlay this. Even though it's a beautiful wood, they still overlay it with gold, simply because this is God gets the best. He doesn't want the rest. He deserves it. Does He not? He deserves it. Sometimes we put it on the back burner, but this altar is for praise. Now, think about this all day long. Of course, now the altar of incense is again, we'll probably run into it on down through there. It's like the golden lampstand is to be trimmed and filled up twice a day. The altar of incense is to be offered on that altar twice a day, but also on the outside of that tabernacle in the outer court at the third hour of the day, the sixth hour of the day. I covered it a little bit this morning in our sunrise service. There's a sacrifice for the people that's offered, and plus all the continual sacrifices, free will offerings that people are bringing in, or the offerings of oblation where they have messed up, and and it's not the Day of Atonement, but they want to make sure they got everything right with God, so they go ahead and bring a sacrifice on in. So picture this. You got the holy place here where God's at. You got the altar of incense here next to where God's at. And then out here you have this, don't get mad at me, stench of the continual sacrifice. I'm just being blunt about it. The gory stench of burning dead animals. The blood that's there. So this is not a very pretty picture. But this altar of incense, when they would take a little bit of coals off the altar, put it on that altar of incense, and put that incense on there, and it would burn up like a smoke and fill that tabernacle or that inner court. And no doubt, possibly, because you had a really very thick wall of curtains between those two. But still yet I can't help but release some of that sweet smell of the incense went into where God was. And I think it stood as a wall of what the horror that was on the outside, and the praise is there to keep God, or not to keep God, but to, you understand what I'm saying, what I'm trying to say here when I say this, is there to help God overlook what's going on out there. Now, I know that God has set this up, but that altar of incense, how many ever burned something on the stove? Left a pot of beans on and not put water in them, and it just burned them. Stink the whole house up, am I right? What do? Huh? Well, you throw them out, but you do what, Charlie?
Open the window and use air pressure.
You always open some type of window, man. You get spray Febreze or light candles, to try to do something to get rid of that smell. That's what this altar of incense is also for. Like just being blunt. All right? Thou shalt put them before the veil that is by the ark of the testimony, before the mercy seat that is over the testimony, where I will meet with thee. And Aaron shall burn thereon sweet incense every morning. When he dresseth the lamps, he shall burn incense upon it. And when Aaron lighteth the lamps at even, he shall burn incense upon it, a perpetual incense before the Lord throughout your generations. Ye shall offer no strange incense thereon, nor burnt offering nor burnt sacrifice, nor meat offerings, neither shall ye pour drink offerings on it. The only thing this is used for is for this incense. And there again, it tells us just what I just told you, is in the morning, when they go in to dress the lamps, these lamps burn all night. All right, so they burn all night, they go in, they dress them, cut the wicks, fill it back up, go in the evening, and they light them. And the Lord, let's see, verse 10. And Aaron shall make an atonement upon the horns of it once a year with the blood of a sin offering of atonements. Upon it shall he make atonement upon it throughout your generation. It is a most holy unto the Lord. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, that when thou takest the sum of the children of Israel after their number, then shall they give every man a ransom for the soul of the Lord, for his soul unto the Lord, when thou numberest them, and there be no plague among them when thou numberest them. Now, why would God tell them to count? To take this sum of means to count the people, right? That's what Vicky's doing right now. She's counting how many people we have in Sunday school this morning. She's taking the sum or the total. So why would God do this here and then forbid anybody else to do it later? I mean, it wouldn't seem, remember, because later on David numbered the people. And it was a sin before the Lord, and God gave him three choices. You can fall into the hands of your enemies for a period of time. There was three different things there, plagues, and one was fall into the hand of God. And David said, "Let me be into the hand of God, for he, might have mercy." But God's got his number. This numbering of the children of Israel is not for God. It's that when they are accounted, that they take a record that they're part of God's number. It's not for God. God knew how many people was there. He's all-knowing. So this sum, or this, in America today, we call it a census. So when this census is taken, it's to align themselves with God. And then notice they're to redeem their soul. Anybody know what the price of redemption is before we get there? 30 pieces of silver. Kind of ironic, isn't it? This they shall give every one that passes among them that are numbered a half a shekel after the shekel of the sanctuary. A shekel is 20 gerahs, a half a shekel shall be the offering unto the Lord. And every one that passes among them that are numbered from 20 years old and above shall give an offering unto the Lord. Now, here's the thing. God's telling them how much to give in their offering. Does that sound fair? Does it sound to you like that God's just trying to raise money to pad his pockets?
Well, he still asks for a tithe.
We've got to understand this. What did God do with money? Huh? He didn't need it. So why is God asking them to give this money? What's the purpose of the money?
Sanctuary.
Yeah, for the tabernacle.
For the upkeep and the running of the tabernacle. You have to, Aaron and his sons, and actually the whole tribe of Levi are chosen out here. They're not given a possession in the promised land to work. Their job is the tabernacle. All right? So don't get mad at me. You got to pay a preacher. That's what God's saying here. That's what this is for, is to pay these priests to take care, and again, to make sure that everything is needed and kept up. And it's what we do every Sunday when we pass the offering plate. That's all that we're doing. You know, God tells them how much to give here. God also told us that every man lay up in store, or as Paul said, as God has prospered him. What does that mean? Well, if God has prospered you 1,000, your tithes is 10%. That's 100. Uh-oh. If He's prospered you 2,000, you're to give 200. Where'd you get that number? We'll run into it right here in Exodus here in a little while. The rich shall not give more, and the poor shall not give less than half a shekel, but when they give an offering unto the Lord to make an atonement for your souls. What does the word atonement mean there? To satisfy. To atone is to satisfy a debt, if you will have it. And notice that it's there to redeem. A ransom is the word there. When you give a ransom for somebody, you're redeeming, you're buying them back when they're captured. And that notice again that word ransom is when someone is held captive against their will. You give the ransom to set them free. How many know sin will hold you captive? The old saying is that sin will take you farther than you want to go. It'll make you stay longer than you want to stay, and it'll make you pay far more than you want to pay. That's the old saying about it, all right? So, again, thank God we have been redeemed. We've been ransomed by Jesus Christ. We're not bound under sin anymore, not captive. Verse 17. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Thou shalt also make a laver of brass, and his foot of brass, to wash withal, and thou shalt put it between the tabernacle of the congregation and the altar, and thou shalt put water therein. Why would you need this bowl, if you'll have it, this laver to wash in? Why?
It says in the next verse, for Aaron and his sons shall wash their hands and feet there.
Why do they need to wash their hands and their feet?
They're supposed to be clean when they enter the temple.
In the outer court, it's dirty. Again, it's a gory place, all right? But before they would go in to this other, or even to let's say they went home for the night. All right, they've come in through the camp, come back into the tabernacle. They'll wash themselves before they put on their garments. Their hands, their feet, they get defiled, so they wash them, all right? And Aaron and his sons shall wash their hands and their feet, and they go into the tabernacle of the congregation. They shall wash with water, that they die not. Or when they come near to the altar to minister, to burn offerings made by fire unto the Lord. They cleanse themselves. And does this actually cleanse them? Physically speaking, it would. But it doesn't do a thing for them. Spiritually speaking, but God commands them to be clean. All right? So they wash with their hands and their feet, that they die not. This is the statute forever, even to him and his seed throughout their generation. Moreover, the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Thou shalt also unto thee principal spices of myrrh, 500 shekels, and of sweet cinnamon, half as much was each 250 shekels, and sweet calamus 250 shekels, and calamus and cassia 500 shekels after the shekel of the sanctuary, and olive oil and of olive oil a hin. I'll spit it out in a minute. And of olive oil a hin. So what is this for? Make the incense and the anointing oil. Right? So this cinnamon that we see here, it goes in a lot of different things as far as like when we candles, and it has a good smell, right? The other, myrrh. Anybody ever smelled myrrh? I used to have a bottle of oil that had frankincense and myrrh mixed together in it, and I'm telling you what, it's actually anointing oil, and it smells wonderful. A whole lot nicer than the olive oil, right? If you've ever smelled it, I used to have a little vial bottle of it, just a little one like that. A big bottle of it is pretty expensive. 3 ounces, I believe. It's like $50 now. Used to be $30, but I think it's like $50. And them little bottles are like $9 or $10 for that little bitty bottle. So, thou shalt make it an oil of holy ointment, an ointment compound after the art of the apothecary. How you say that? Huh? Apothecary. It shall be a holy anointing oil, and thou shalt anoint the tabernacle of the congregation therewith, and the ark of the testimony. Why would you anoint curtains? Again, everything smells better, right? Even the ark of the testimony, before it's put in there, it's to be, this oil is for consecration, and again, it's that sweet savor, the smell thereof, but it's for consecration. And the table and all the vessels, and the candlestick and his vessels, and the altar of incense, and the altar of burnt offerings with all his vessels, and the laver and the foot, thou shalt sanctify them, that they may be most holy. Whatsoever toucheth them shall be holy. And thou shalt anoint Aaron and his sons, and consecrate them, that they may minister unto me in the priest's office. And thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel, saying, this is a holy anointing oil unto you, unto me. Notice that. Unto me throughout your generations. So, again, why is God doing all this? Come on in, Izzy. Why is God doing this? It's not for them. God's doing this for him. What that means is again, God is setting them apart for his purpose. For his purpose. It's not for me, it's not for you. I think the girls just went downstairs, didn't they? Did the girls go downstairs, bub? I don't think there's a teacher down there. Harold, if you just want to go get them, tell them there's not a teacher down there. There they come.
And it's this altar in verse 26 and verse 28, the same altar. The altar of the testimony, and also the altar of incense.
The altar of the ark of the testimony and the altar of incense are two different altars. The ark of the testimony is the ark of the covenant. That has the mercy seat that's in the holy place. That's what it is, the ark of the testimony. Testimony being the law that's placed inside. Okay? Then the altar of incense. So again, let's say that the most holy place sits right here. Inside of it, the only thing inside of it will be the Ark of the Covenant. If you come out of that veil, to the side of the door is the altar of incense. To the left, if my memory serves me correct, to the left it is the golden candlestick. To the right will be the table of shewbread, or it's vice versa. But the altar of incense sits by the door, going into the curtain would open up into the holy place. And then all the other things are in the outer court. The only three pieces that are inside of the inner court, again, are the table of shewbread, the altar of incense, and the golden candlestick. Those are two separate altars there in 26 and 28. The Ark of the Testimony. And all God is doing is naming off the things. There's things that are built even after this, but this is what is needed to start this tabernacle into the worship service. There's a great brazen sea that holds so many baths of water that's going to come up here, and it's huge. Not just a little laver, but and I don't remember how many gallons a bath is, but it was pretty huge. Verse 30, am I right? And thou shalt anoint Aaron and his sons and consecrate them, that they may minister unto me in the priest's office. And thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel, saying, This is a holy anointing oil unto me throughout your generations. Upon man's flesh shall it not be poured, neither shall ye make any other like it. After the composition of it, it is holy, and it shall be holy unto you. In other words, it's mine, it's not yours. Right? God said, this is my design, this is what I want put in it, this is how you mix it together, this is what it's used for, and all that it's used for. You can't use it for cologne, you can't use it for perfume. Notice it's not put upon their skins, it's put upon their clothing. It's not for clothing, it's not to rub into your skin if your hands are dry. Verse 33, Whosoever compoundeth any like it, or whosoever putteth any of it upon a stranger, shall even be cut off from his people. Who's going to cut him off? God Himself. There's two ways to be cut off from the children of Israel. First one is God killed you. The second one would be that you will be driven from the camp and, what is the word? Banished is the word. You couldn't come back. You're run off. You're done away with. God said, you're no longer. Has that ever happened to anybody in the Bible so far?
I don't know what it was, but I remember.
Cain. Remember, Cain was driven from the presence of God. God didn't kill Cain, but He banished him, not only from him, but He run him off. Him and his wife, they were fugitive and vagabonds. They were constantly on the run. They were accepted nowhere. And I often wonder today that that's what's wrong with a lot of people, that they've been separated from the family. I'm talking about people that used to be faithful to the Lord, been separated because of their sin, and now they can find no place that they can be happy in this world. I'm telling you, once you've had a true walk with God, you'll never find peace in this world. You'll never be happy. I don't care what you try. If you've got Christ, you've already got the best. And if you ain't got Christ, you ain't got the best. You're just missing out on the best. Don't get me wrong. The Bible teaches us plainly, there is pleasure in sin for a season. But it don't last very long, because seasons are always changing. The prodigal son, when he left the father's house and had a pocket full of money, he had a big-eyed time for a while.
But he knew the Father to start with.
He knew the Father to start with. When he left, he had plenty of friends. Notice he went into a far country.
Yeah. With his inheritance.
He didn't have any friends there. He might have had some companions. There's a difference between a companion and a friend. A companion is somebody who you would hang around with. And again, these people only hung around for what they could get. Because as long as the good times were rolling, they were there. But when he found himself alone, dirty, tired, miserable, and hungry, starving to death, he said, but I know what I'll do. And I don't know how I got off on that, but it did, because where God says that they shall be a stranger, be run out of town. And the Lord said unto Moses, verse 34, take unto thee sweet spices, steka, huh?
I would pronounce it statue.
Statue.
Yeah, what it is, I'm not sure.
And Anchaya, and Galilee, and these sweet spices with pure frankincense of each shall thou put like weight, and thou shalt make it a perfume, a confection after the art of the apothecary, tempered together, pure and holy, and thou shalt beat some of it very small, and put it before the testimony of the tabernacle of the congregation, where I will meet with thee. It shall be most holy unto you. And as for the perfume which thou shalt make, ye shall not make to yourselves according to the composition thereof. It shall be whole unto thee holy for the Lord. Whoever shall make that to smell thereof shall be cut off from his people. So, the things of God belong to who? Well, wait a minute. The earth is the Lord's and all things thereof. So these things that God has set apart for His purpose are for His purpose. Like this sanctuary. This sanctuary is set apart for what? Worship. So therefore it's not to be used by the world or anybody else of the church for anything other than. So why do we allow weddings?
That's a part of the ceremony. It's part of the
It's part one of God's ordinances between a man and a wife. That's why it's all right. So there are buildings today where people take their chairs out and turn them into basketballs. Is that the same thing? Play volleyball in the sanctuary. I've got no problem. If they want to have a place where they can play volleyball and play basketball, it do us all good. You have more exercise. Amen?
I know when we were little, when we first started going to church, we went to the fire station. That's where we had church.
Went to a fire station.
Went to the fire station and had church.
But
We could build a church.
till you built, that's all right. But once you built the sanctuary so that was set apart, you didn't bring the fire trucks in there. You didn't do your fire. Now we do the bottom part of this building is not set apart for worship. It's set apart for fellowship and for teaching. It's different. But this is the sanctuary, and it's there for worship, whether it be through a drama like what we did last night with the 3 nails, whether it be for singings, It's there for worship and to bring glory and draw attention and praise to God. All right, that's chapter 30. The good news is that's 30. Bad news is that's not the end of Exodus. And if you're getting bored with this, batten down the hatches, because it ain't going to get much better all the way through till we start in the book of Judges. A lot of this is repetitious stuff, and a lot of this is revisited. Why would we need to revisit it in these other books? Why would God record it 2 or 3 times?
Remind us.
It's a constant reminder. Remember, when these books were given to the children of Israel to follow, they didn't have a born-again experience and didn't have the Holy Spirit inside to lead them and to guide them. They depended upon God's presence in the tabernacle and God speaking through at this time, Moses. All right, so later on it's Joshua, and then it's the judges, and then it's the prophets. All right, before we get to the church. So let's take a break and come back for worship. I would lay my watch off.